Welcome to Keiser Voices, the story of success, brought to you by Keiser University Graduate School, here where the academic world meets personal triumph. Join us today as we dive into the captivating tales of success.
My name is Craig Kaley. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Mortgage Connect, a company that provides services in the mortgage and lending industry. And we are what you would think of as a Fintech company. And that's, I've been with the company for over 3 years. I have probably 20, almost 30 years of experience in information technology, actually more than 30 years, and love it, and absolutely love technology and, and where things are going. I will give you my answer, which Fintech is one of those type of questions, or what is Fintech? You might ask 10 different people and get 10 different answers. And Fintech is usually meant for financial services tech or technology, and how it differs from traditional financial services is the application of technology. Coming in to make the services around financial services more automated, more user-friendly, more usable on whether it's web-based interfaces, mobile apps, tablets, and there's an explosion just within the last number of months, and we're in it for a while, is how artificial intelligence is going to play in the fintech world. And, whether it's making decisions or approving loans down the road, those type of things. But Fintech, my definition of Fintech is the application of technology in the financial services arena. And the company I work for, Mortgage Connect, does that within the mortgage services subspace of financial services. The past decade has been it's evolved a lot, especially as the technology has evolved a lot. We have more web-based technologies available, and you've got social media, you've got mobile. More people do utilize their iPhones and Android phones for doing, whether it's surfing web or interacting with their banks and lenders. Digital signing is becoming more commonplace. The COVID really moved things along quite substantially in the fintech space as well, because for example, you couldn't go into banks to do financial transactions. If you were closing on a loan, you might have done that over a Zoom call or and electronically signed. So there's been quite a rapid change over the past decade. The technologies are getting more mature. The processes are getting more automated, and another one is there's back-end services that can, with your permission, you can actually have these services query your bank accounts to get balances and all of report on all of that. So it's much like a credit report. Services can scan credit reports to get information about your debt, the assets you might own, and all of that. More of that's being automated. Back 20 years ago, probably in some cases still now, you have to hand write, on a loan application what all of your debts are. Those things are becoming more automated now, and that it's only accelerating. So I think we live in a technology-based world, and it's only growing. And I'm really excited about the artificial intelligence aspect of it. I think it's going to even accelerate that growth more. So the landscape's changing every day, every hour, and it's picking up steam. So that's kind of what's happened the last decade. One, I already mentioned it, is artificial intelligence is probably the biggest game changer that's happening today. Now, one of the things, the other thing, I'll highlight two things. I'll talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, but the other one is the uptick in financial fraud, so security. And that's really come into play with financial services companies. And in fact, you can read about companies that get hacked or attacked from stealing data, and in some cases they've even shut down companies with ransomware. Those are some of the more significant trends. Those two I see that are here and now, and a topic of conversation almost on a daily basis. So let me talk about the artificial intelligence part of that. So artificial intelligence, there's many people are probably familiar with Chat GPT, and it's called generative AI. And Chat GPT, a lot of people might say, if you're in college, you might ask it to write a paper for you, or write a story, or maybe even write your resume. You have to. It has to be able to draw on some of that information. Some of that information could be in the public, but some of it you could also feed it to help generate the output that you want. Now, in the financial services space, you might be, there's a lot of, evolvement in terms of how generative AI is going to help. It could be, I'll use an example of, you go into a bank and you want to get approved for a loan, maybe, boy, this is probably not too far in the future, that you could simply ask a generative AI type solution that, can I get approved for a loan on this house and at this address? Not, in the past, you might have to say, well, it's at this address, this is what it appraises for, and this is my income, and this is my debts. But can you imagine where all of that information is accessible by the systems, and it comes back and says you're approved or you're not approved based on all the information that it derives. So it could be far, far faster, more accurate, and there's just a lot of exciting movement there. Let me jump over to the fraud side of it. AI also is something that people are very nervous about. How AI is going to affect cybersecurity and fraud. But today there is a lot of activity from bad actors, trying to get access to your information, especially financial information. So they would benefit from getting bank account numbers, credit cards, your social security number, credit reports, all of that, and then try to, set up new accounts or steal money from existing accounts. Another big one is ransomware, where if a bad actor infiltrates your network, they can encrypt your data and hold it ransom until you pay them for them to decrypt your data. So that's a big one that's occurring now. So those are probably, there's other trends that are shaping the industry, but I would say security and artificial intelligence are two big ones that are taking up space in my mind almost every day now. I think it's changing in a lot of ways. If you go back, gosh, it's probably just a couple decades. Just balancing a checkbook was kind of a manual process. You had to, and people wrote checks. Back then. On occasion, I might write a check, but rarely do I ever write checks anymore. Consumers are interacting with tools like Venmo or PayPal, Apple Pay. They're doing things on their phones. It's rare to go into a bank anymore, and you can do so many things online, and so it's accelerating. So it's become. And you don't have to even be in the same town or live in the same vicinity as your bank anymore. And so ATMs are being used less and less because people are moving more and more towards cashless transactions. So those are some of the big ways that fintech is changing things. And I think it's going to continue to grow where identification, money, all of that exists on your devices, like your iPhone or your Android phone, and it changes the behavior of people. I think there's a lot of things that you can do that make it safer. And I think it is safer than carrying around cash or, a wallet. I still have to, unfortunately, I still do carry a wallet, but I only have just a couple, credit cards in my wallet with my license. But I don't think I'm too far away from having that all go electronic also, where I don't have to even carry a wallet anymore. I just carry my phone and I have that information on it. And then if somebody was to steal my phone, they would have a hard time getting into it and stealing, credit cards, things like that. So I think the change in behavior is going more and more electronic, and fintech is changing that in a very positive manner, I believe. So, and I think it's going to just pick up momentum. So there are a lot of regulatory things, especially around, and it does vary even based on the country you might be in, and some of those regulatory frameworks dictate how you manage a person's data. So, and a lot of times you might hear the data called NPI, which stands for non-personal information, and or PII is personal identifiable information, and those having access to that and where it's stored. Some of the regulatory framework has. They also dictate how long you can store the data. There's some regulatory things that are coming out. AI is also going to it's stirring a lot of regulatory talk in the government, even now in the U.S. But imagine, if you will, that facial recognition, that your phone and storing that, and how it's used. If you go into a bank, you're recognized automatically, and information is brought up. That information, there's regulations. Certain states don't even allow you to use that, other than if you're in law enforcement. So it's things are changing so fast, and I think people haven't digested how much information is possible nowadays to gather. And what's making people nervous is how that might be used. So imagine, if you will, some of the scams that are out there with it used to be the prince from South Africa would send you an email saying that they have an inheritance, right? That was I forget the name of that one off the top of my head. But, that was like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. You might get an email and then they would, try to take you down a path of giving up some of your bank account information. But nowadays, imagine using AI technology and information that might be gleaned from your social media accounts, and that they get, the bad actors get an actual voice pattern from your grandmother, and then they create a distressed call to your cell phone, and they make the number that pops up on your screen look like it came from your grandmother's phone, and it says, "I've been in an accident," or I need money to can you send transactions? And that could be it's getting more believable, some of the things that can be done. So how do you regulate all of that? How do you regulate the bad actors? New laws have to come into play. And so it's changing a lot. It's changing fast. And I think the regulations are a bit behind on that. So some of it's compliance, to make sure that you're doing things that don't discriminate against various people that might be taking out a loan. But then some of it is very security oriented and data protection oriented. So lots going on there. Good question. The piece of advice is that I would give is first, recognize that things are changing a lot, but also be a little skeptical on some of the things, like the always ask the next level question. So I just like if my grandmother called and was in an accident, ask the question, well, Grandma, what was the birthday gift you gave me when I was 10? Or something personal that would be very difficult. And be skeptical, but also be excited about some of the changes that are happening because it is moving fast, and it's kind of fun to see how you could get approved for a loan in very, very fast instead of going through very arduous manual processes that happened decades ago. It's getting faster. You can be more accurate, and there's less discrimination that's occurring because of all this technology. So it really means having an open mind that how things were done yesterday doesn't mean that that's how things are going to be done going forward. But open eyes and a healthy dose of skepticism is I even apply that, open eyes and healthy dose of skepticism to non-fintech things, sports and, other disciplines that I have interest in and all. But those are some of the key high-level things that I would share with somebody. And then read a lot, research a lot, learn a lot, be curious. How does that work? How does dig a little deeper? Don't always, that healthy dose of skepticism should be followed up with curiosity. How does that work? How do they do that? That's advice that I live myself, but I actually try to impress upon others that could be good advice as they're navigating the fintech landscape. The first steps you're going to have to. It's still financial services. It's still the business of providing financial services in the fintech world. So you're going to. That's the first thing is whether you're working in banking or lending or mortgages or personal finance or whatever it might be. That's still foundational. Almost. It's that business, that logic of let's say doing a budget. There's still sort of a paper and pencil approach to doing a budget. How much do you bring in every month, and how much goes out every month? You can do that on a paper and pencil. Fintech brings it to life where you could do it in a more automated fashion. Maybe do it without writing anything down. It has access to that. But it all starts with the foundation, that you have to understand the financial services or the financial aspect that the fintech is being applied to. So that's key. That's key. In conclusion, that fintech is it's kind of a buzzword that's been out there and it's grown, and there's buzzwords that are always come up, in the technology space, blockchain and Bitcoin and cyber currency and cybersecurity and all of that. So there's an aspect to that even with fintech, but it comes down to it's the financial services and your financial life, whether it's lending, whether it's banking, whether it's whatever, personal finance. Like I said, there's a lot of different, investing, another big one. Know that what fintech brings to the table is automation and capabilities to do financial services better, but also again, I'm going to go back to that level of skepticism. I'm not going to say if I've got $1,000 to invest, and I'm not going to say, or maybe I do. Maybe I go into a generative AI service and say, where should I invest this $1,000? And it comes back and it gives me a list of stocks or mutual funds or ETFs, those type of things. Don't be too trusting yet. Because what if it comes back and says something that you don't agree with? That's where we're at. I think it's super, super exciting where we're going. But I also think that caution is needed too. So that's in conclusion, that's kind of what I would say. Be excited, be curious, and I think the future's pretty bright, though.
Thank you for journeying with us today on Keiser Voices, the story of success. As we close this chapter, remember, every story has its next page.